In this video, I'll be talking about how I got big glutes and why this advice will likely work for you too. I'll first mention that I've never been a fan of the X-taper physique. Always found it to be extremely unaesthetic while further contributing to this quad dominant lifting epidemic, because that's what I typically see. Guys will have amazing development from the front, but then they turn around and there's no glute and hamstring gains whatsoever, which is a darn shame considering the fact that that's where a lot of your athleticism, power, and overall performance on leg day occurs. And that's what appealed to me. This way I can still get really strong with the lower body, max out, get lots of volume work in, but proportionally having more mass on the backside compared to the front. So don't think for a second now that I'm promoting chicken legs. Everything I'm discussing is from a symmetry perspective. That is it. I still want you to work your quads, have the teardrop, have some good definition, a good overall leg size. And for many of you, that might be in the 24 to 26 inch range. Going beyond that point though, my opinion doesn't look the best on a lot of people, unless you're really tall. Anyway, that was my mindset at the time, which eventually led to the gorilla glute philosophy and naturally enhanced. And so I thought to myself, what would be the best way of getting this job done? Becoming a deadlift specialist. Not to compete, I didn't care about that, but for the muscle gaining effects. Because what we have to do is analyze the movement itself and ask one simple question. What are the prime movers? And to that, it's the muscles that control hip extension. Primarily glutes and hamstrings. Of course, your lower back and all the other muscle groups will get involved, like your lats, your grip strength. It's a full body compound movement. But if we're talking about the most emphasis, it's your ass that's gonna get swole. And that's why what you see in me is not the exception. It's the norm to the extent that I'm nothing special, straight up. Strong deadlifters almost always have massive glutes unless they have freakish leverages. 9 out of 10 times. If you look at the EXRX chart, which I love referencing, the elite category is almost a get big glute card. The chances of succeeding are so high that you might as well just go for it. Which if I look at my numbers and journey, I ended up getting to that point. At the time I started really focusing on the deadlifts, I was only pulling in the 400s. Once I got to the 500s, and even going beyond that point on some unconventional variations, that's when the glute gains became out of this world, which makes complete sense. What else would you expect, honestly? I would say if you can deadlift 405 and you have a 38-inch butt, high chance, like it would be almost impossible for you not to have 40 inches and above once you're in the elite category. And heck, even the advanced level will yield tremendous results. So to me, it doesn't matter what pulling variation you're using necessarily. It could be conventional, sumo, Jefferson, even doing block pulls, RDLs, good mornings contribute to that too. And I'm not saying that you just have to do one rep maxes and stuff like that. I'm simply telling you that the one rep max deadlift performance is a good indicator of what's going on back here. Going from 300 pounds to 500 makes a massive difference in your glute development. Like, I really can't stress enough how serious this actually is. This is going to be a transformation of something so freaking simple. So besides the hip hinges, there's yet another feature to my philosophy, which so many people have been neglecting for years, but now it seems to be picking up in the mainstream. Emphasizing lunges or unilateral work in general. I always saw people treating this exercise as a baby lift, body weight only, just doing laps around the gym, or not going heavy enough, as if a 50-pound dumbbell in each hand is satisfactory. That's not even impressive, by the way. That's pathetic for anyone who wants to get massive glutes. Now, if you're doing extremely high volume to the point where it's well beyond 20 reps and you're doing short rest intervals, okay, fine, you do that. But if you're gonna be in traditional rep ranges, 3 sets of 10, or even in the 10 to 20 zone, you gotta do more than that. And for me, I found that maxing out the dumbbell stack for high volume got the job done. Sometimes I would have trouble walking immediately after. Always got a crazy glute pump with an amazing stretch to go with it. And the gains showed over time. You saw me do a 300-pound Zercher lunge, full range of motion. Probably had more in me too. And at my peak of lunging performance, that's the time where I got a 700-pound trap bar deadlift at 165 pounds. Why? Because the glute gains were out of this world. And even though it's not specific to pulling, the hypertrophy effect made it such that I can brute force through a lot of these pulling variations. And so it wasn't uncommon for me to do 225 lunges for high reps. And I know some of you guys think, oh, that's a lot of weight. But it honestly isn't if you practice a lunge. Like if you actually induce maximum progressive overload on your lunges, I'd say that within a year's time, you'd probably be able to do 100 pounds in each hand for high reps, no problem. They shouldn't be some freak feat of strength, because that's far from it. It's just an amazing accessory that, when treated seriously, happens to bring forth glute gains at the same time, while carrying over to many exercises. And in general, you should be doing one-legged movements. It's not fun, but definitely effective for athletes, getting rid of tightness issues, and getting more out of less weight in general. Like, this should be an important accessory lift. Finally, there's yet another exercise that made a massive difference in my glute gains: the reverse hyperextension, which I did not start doing for that purpose. It was specifically for the restoration and strength benefits for the lower back. And you do them at the end of your program after heavy squats or deadlifts, just to decompress everything, get some traction in the spine. But the interesting side effect is that your glutes get bigger. Like if you're doing reps of 25 to 33, you will acquire a massive pump. Some of you may get DOMs for the very first time, which makes sense. Look at many of the booty workouts on Instagram. It's always these glute kickbacks, or using the multi-hip machine, where you're starting with your knee high and bring it down, flexing that glute. The reverse hyperextension is that with a longer lever. And of course, there's momentum that goes into this as well. So that does take away from the glute emphasis, especially given the strength curve, but we still can't deny that they're being worked tremendously. And when you get strong enough, as in doing 4 plates aside for high repetitions, you can't tell me that it's not a productive exercise. And the risk of injury is so low anyway, while being quick to set up, that it doesn't matter that there's additional inertia per se. You're still going to get the desired effects. Not to mention the fact that if it allows you to recover better, then that in itself is indirectly going to help all your lower body exercises. In this way, you can max out more frequently, do a lot more volume, require less deloads. Your training is going to be much better long term. So even if it's not the best exercise for the glutes, the restoration and overloading effect literally balances everything out. So I would strongly recommend that if your gym has a reverse hyper, you start abusing that thing. 4 sets of 25 is a good starting point. Try to max it out. And for all my home gym guys, I recommend buying the Westside Scout Hyper. I'm using it personally. Love the way my body feels after a lower body day. It just gets rid of any aches and pains you may have, and the pumps are truly out of this world. So once I started doing reverse hypers, my entire lifting journey changed forever. Like, this was one of the most beneficial exercises I ever did, and that's why I bought the freaking machine. I stand by this 100%. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invested in it. This isn't for views. This is just me keeping it real and being so thankful to Louis Simmons, the creator of this device. So these 3 exercises work synergistically. By getting strong at all of them, man, you're gonna have that gorilla tank action. So get ready for the gains, and of course, there's more things I can share, but today was really focusing on the fundamentals, the main things that got me these results. And I have no doubt that many of you will resonate with this advice and correct that pancake ass once and for all. So enjoy. Let me know if you want to see a part 2, and I'll talk to you all next time.